5 years ago, I spoke with Bob Hawke at his home after the passing of Gough Whitlam. The interview was, of course, a tribute to Gough, and I was wishing today I'd asked Bob how he'd like to be remembered, except that would have been way too premature. But when you listen to it, so much of what he said about Gough really could be applied to Bob. What was your response when you heard the news today that Gough Whitlam had passed?
Well, it wasn't sadness. Gough was ready and wanting to go, and his family likewise. So it wasn't an occasion of sadness, but a time for remembrance of a great life.
And how have you reflected on him today?
Well, I think I could sum up by saying Australia is a significantly better place in society today because of the life and work of Gough Whitlam.
I was reflecting, of course, today on him and how we've changed since his prime ministership, and it occurs to me that most Australians can barely remember a time before Medicare or Medibank as it was then, a time when a woman couldn't get a mortgage without her husband's signature, a time when a 20-year-old man could be called up for national service in a ballot. Should we give thanks to him for that today?
Of course we should. There is no doubt that Gough Whitlam accelerated the movement in our society towards creating a situation where we have a national health scheme which is arguably one of the very best and fairest in the world. More equality in education than was ever dreamt of before him.
Thinking back to 1972 when he came into power and that iconic It's Time campaign, I was only 12. I was 12 when he came in, at 15 when he was out, but that was such a pivotal time, and Australians then were so politically enthusiastic, politically engaged, it seemed. We honestly believed we could change our future by embracing our government or changing our government. It seems we've changed, haven't we?
Well, of course, we'd had 23 years of unbroken Conservative rule. And here now was the exciting prospect under a new dynamic leader of change. And he didn't let people down. He made changes, very, very important changes. And there's no doubt the people of Australia were excited about this.
Was it Gough or was it the era? Was it Gough or was it time?
Oh, it was very much Gough. I think it can well be argued no Gough, no 1972 victory. I mean, because it was not just the things he stood for and worked for, but he made the party, made the Australian Labor Party relevant.
He was also so very different to politicians of today. I think Gough Whitlam could eviscerate you with a dictionary, and you could do the same thing. And Paul Keating was no slouch in that department either. And I compare that to today's politicians who are so media managed. You had such swagger and they're so risk averse. Is that a shame in your opinion?
Oh yes, I think it is a pity. And I think you need to remember that this is not just a feature of Australia. I often say in conversation with people these days that I think we're at a unique point in human history that this is the first time since the end of the Second World War where there hasn't been at least one outstanding political leader in the democracies. I mean, you name me one. So I think there's a definite worldwide decline in the quality of people in politics.
How did Gough Whitlam shape you as a politician and as a Prime Minister?
Well, I learned a lot from Gough, and he confirmed the interest and commitment I already had in Asia, in China, and it was stimulating to me that he gave that leadership. And I also learnt from him the importance of getting the party in shape.
He once said when he was asked about meeting his maker that he would treat him as an equal. Should God be bracing himself?
It'd be a fascinating meeting.
It's probably happened by now. Thanks very much for your time, Mr. Hawke.
Okay.
I think it just got even more interesting up